So I will be 29 this summer, and I have been an entrepreneur since I was like 15, but full time since I was like 18, 19. Um, and the thing is like during this time in my life when I went full time as an entrepreneur, it was so hard and I had no support. I was reeling from so much trauma in my childhood, SA, like physical stuff, like just intense emotional and psychological abuse. And, I didn't have like parents that I could lean on, that were available like in any way, emotionally, financially, or otherwise. And I, as I was like finishing high school, I was just pretty much like I'm convinced had PTSD, and I was not able to. I was just in complete survival mode. I was not able to really focus on my school work or anything like that. And I was really like I really really felt like I was set up for life in a way that just was not. Like I was not meant to succeed in any way, like the way that my life propelled me into adulthood. And I really during this time like leaned on a sense of spirituality that I had, because I was just kind of raised in like a more spiritual, like new age household. And so that was a bit of a survival thread for me because at times in this phase of my life, like I didn't want to be alive. And I dug really, really, really deep to start healing at a very young age. And I was like, wow, I'm actually starting to heal. And I had to because I truly wouldn't be here if I didn't do that. And anyways, so I immediately started kind of giving that back to people, because that's just what I knew to do. That's what I wanted to do. That's what I felt called to do. I didn't feel called to try and figure out how to make a traditional route work when it came to like going to college or anything like that. When I knew that I had something to give in that moment to people, and I just started giving it to people, and it started turning into a business. And during that time, I was like really trying to like stabilize myself like on a financial level, and just find more consistency there, to be able to like just like live and build like an actual career for myself that I could have, for the rest of my life. And during that particular time in life, like I really had a big focus on my romantic relationships because I experienced so much trauma, like relationship trauma in my childhood, and just like attachment style kind of trauma. And and I was really struggling when it came to my love life in a way that was just extremely painful. I had a ton of anxious and avoidant tendencies, and my relationships were really, really toxic. And I found myself just getting swept away in men, and just being really vulnerable to really like bad situations with men, because of all the trauma and low self-worth that I had. Like I struggled with I don't know if you can say this on TikTok, but like ED, tendencies, and just all the things. I was just desperate for love. I was desperate for support. And in one way I got a bit of that from men, but because I was in such a vulnerable place, I usually was not choosing and aligning with very good men, right? And so when I started healing, my relationships, my love life started changing in a really, really big way. And I just felt so deeply passionate about and determined that I would just like figure out like what being in a healthy long-term relationship was like. And I did so much work on that, and I figured it out, and I got into a really incredible relationship with a man that I would be with for 8 years, that I would get engaged to. We're not together anymore, because I simply outgrew it. Outgrew the relationship. Just, I got into it, at a young age, and still had so much more like self to grow into, even though I like had figured out like foundationally and fundamentally like what a healthy foundational like foundation would look like. There was just still so much of me to come. But during all of that, there was just something inside of me, a deep calling that was asking to be followed, and it led me to building a business around helping people around their relationships and their dating lives. And it has gone on to consistently bring in multiple six figures per year since about 2017. And it's not been easy all the time, but being willing to just follow that deep feeling of this is what I'm being called to do, and like being willing to shut out what other people say you should do or shouldn't do, and like being willing to even kind of let go of that feeling of being a victim in your life, and being willing to decide that like I'm going to create a fucking great life for myself, and I'm going to do it being my most authentic self. And my most authentic self was helping people, right? Was supporting people. And I still follow that pull to this day. And it has led me to change my life a couple of times for the better. And this deep call to what I like to call alignment being your most authentic self, like doing what you're supposed to be doing in this world, and like just having the life that you're supposed to have, right? And like living in alignment with your happiness, with your joy, with taking good care of yourself, with loving yourself, with, you know, just doing the work that you're supposed to be doing in this world. And I just felt called to share this. I'm not selling anything relating to this in any way. But I just want to remind you that if you feel like the odds are stacked against you, if you feel fucked up, if you feel like you don't know what you're supposed to do or where you belong, or maybe a certain life and way of being has been pushed onto you, I just want you to know to trust that feeling, to trust your truth, to follow it religiously, and to trust yourself. And that even though things can feel like hard and stacked against you at times, you deserve a great fucking life. And you can have a beautiful life because that is in your control. If you watched it like all the way through, I love you and thanks for being here.